The Buffalo Bills have a major problem, and I'm not going to ignore it. It's something that they must fix heading into week 2 and the rest of the season if they want to hoist the Lombardi trophy come February. That's what we're going to talk about on today's edition of the Bills Breakdown by Chat Sports, as the Bills defense is not ideal at this point, specifically against the run. And I get it. You were playing one of the best and most potent offenses in the National Football League in the Baltimore Ravens in that Sunday Night Football opener, but it cannot be understated how bad the Bills' run defense was in week 1. Rushing yards allowed, straight up, bottom of the league. The Ravens ran all over you, 238 yards on the ground. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Justice Hill, they were all doing their things. Derrick Henry with a couple of 30-plus yard runs. EPA per rush, estimated points added per rush on the defense. The Bills allowed 0.24 points per rush. That's insane. That was a 29th rank in the league. Yards before contact, 30th in the NFL, 2.9. So the Ravens were getting 3 yards no matter what every single run. Yards after contact per rush, 32nd in the league. So the Bills at the second and third levels of the defense could not wrap up and tackle. They allowed 5.3 yards per carry after contact. That's insanity. Runs of 10-plus yards for the Ravens. They allowed 10. That's 32nd in the league. Yards per play, 32nd. They ran for 8.2 yards per carry on you. That is atrocious. The next best team in the league, the next worst team in the league, I should say, 6.4 yards per carry. Stuff rate. The Bills actually did a pretty good job, especially in the second half, at stuffing the Ravens at the line of scrimmage. It was either a stuff at the line of scrimmage or a 30-yard run. It felt like no in-betweens there for Baltimore. And then rush yards over expected allowed. They allowed 67 over expected, 31st in the National Football League. Look, don't take it from me. Don't take it from the stats. Take it from the own defensive coordinator on the Buffalo Bills, Bobby Babich, who said, no one in the defensive room thinks that anything of that nature, as far as the yards that were accumulated on the ground, is acceptable. And that's good news for Bills fans because something definitely needs to change heading into week 2 because you're playing a potent rushing offense. Before we get into what happened in week 1 and what needs to change, can we get to 6K subs before week 2? That would be an absolute awesome accomplishment that we could do here on the Bills Breakdown. We cover the Bills every single day, the latest news, the latest rumors, trades, anything we could speculate about the Buffalo Bills, as well as game previews, injury updates, and watch parties as well. Every single Bills football game day is covered here on the channel. So we need 169 diehard members of the Mafia to go down below and hit that subscribe button. Turn your notifications on so you never miss a moment here at the Bills Breakdown. Look, we knew this would be an issue as far as the run defense goes. This has been Buffalo's Achilles heel for the past half decade. Basically, since Josh Allen has taken the helm at quarterback, the Bills' one hole on the roster year in and year out has been the run defense. And that doesn't seem like that has changed much heading into this season. And Sal Capaccio did say this, more from Babich here. He said, very important that we get that corrected, and we will be very intentional about getting them corrected. All the mistakes that they had in the run game. A lot easier to do that after a win. Look, the narrative around the Buffalo Bills could be a lot different this week if they had lost that game. Thank you to Josh Allen for not making that happen, but the Bills' defense would be a much more glaring issue nationally and to all the media members out there if the Bills had won the game. Instead, the story is Josh Allen is an alien superhero quarterback, and I'm okay with that, but on the other side of the football, there are absolute question marks. And as far as the run defense goes, it's not a one-man show out there. Ed Oliver cannot do this thing all by himself. He was phenomenal in week 1. I mean, maybe the best game of Ed Oliver's career to this point. I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that. PFF gave Ed Oliver a run defense grade of 92.7. You know how disgusting that is? He had 3 stops at the line of scrimmage. He had 3 pressures, a sack, a forced fumble, 6 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. He was everywhere on the football field. But there are other guys on this Bills defensive front that, he need to kind of help their guy out in Ed Oliver. And that starts with TJ Sanders, who had one of the lowest grades on the defensive line for Buffalo in week 1. He's a rookie, and it was a tough assignment against a very, very good Baltimore offense, but it's got to get better in due time. We can't be pushing out 30 overall grades week in and week out. Terrell Bernard and Matt Milano, where were you in week 1? I mean, coverage grades, their run defense grades, they were brutal in week 1, and it looked like they need a lot more refinement as the season goes along. Terrell Bernard specifically here. You got Milano obviously coming off of injury, and he's still working back into game shape and getting into the swing of things. But Terrell Bernard's been healthy, man, and he wears the green dot. Like, there's a lot of responsibility on his cap, and he didn't really live up to it in week 1. The second and third level of that defense did not wrap up, and that's why Derrick Henry was able to bust so many 25-yard plus runs. Taylor Rapp was atrocious at all levels. We'll get into more about Taylor Rapp in just a little bit. But that run defense angle he took at Derrick Henry, getting completely shifted on a misdirection that really wasn't even there on that play too. His run defense was absolutely atrocious. And Deion Walker, another rookie, he graded pretty low, but there were some nice stops in there for him as well. Just got to get more from him. In week 2, as Daquan Jones graded pretty highly. AJ Epinesa was okay in the run as well. He only had 1 tackle, but it was behind the line of scrimmage. Did a nice job at reading Baltimore's zone read. Now, as far as Joey Bosa goes, that's a name that we didn't just talk about. He was okay for the most part, especially in the run defense or in the pass rush category, excuse me. But he was only out there for about 69% of the Bills' defensive snaps. And according to Bobby Babich, that looks like it's what's going to be the norm heading into this season. They want to be smart managing his health, as he's missed a lot of time and has been banged up a lot over the past few years. They want to prioritize having him available for the postseason. And Babich said they liked what they saw out of Bosa in week 1. Let's shift a little bit to the pass defense. A little bit as Christian Benford, good segue here, said this. We didn't play well at all, obviously. It is the first week of the season and a lot of stuff to clean up, and it's also probably the craziest game that I've ever been a part of. And I do kind of want to give the Bills a little bit of, I guess, leeway here, because they did play like the league's best offense. When you talk about it from top to bottom, the quarterback, running back, receivers, offensive line, tight end, I think the Ravens have the best in the entire National Football League. So it's a double-edged sword, right? Like, you played really bad, but you also played, one of the league's best offenses. So there isn't a whole heck of a lot to take away. But look, Benford knows he's got to be better. Benford knows the whole secondary has got to be better. He was the one who was covering DeAndre Hopkins on that nasty one-handed touchdown catch. And Taylor Rapp was also a player who was in that general vicinity on that play. He was very late on the safety help over the top, which allowed Hopkins to make the grab. And that's just communication things and preparedness things that the Bills need to improve upon heading into week 2. And speaking of Taylor Rapp, he had the lowest safety coverage grade in the entire National Football League in week 1. Out of whatever it was, 70 or 85 safeties in week 1, he had a 29.8 coverage grade. And somehow, some way, that was a higher grade than his overall grade of 29.1. Atrocious from Taylor Rapp. And, Cole Bishop played way better of a game. There was definitely some things that we didn't like from him, as far as the Bills kind of being out of place on that quick snap, and he blitzed all the way to the line of scrimmage from the third level of the defense when the ball was snapped. That was really bad. He was not really great in coverage either. But look, Rapp being the veteran here, like you got to kind of be better. Overall, you got to be better than what we showed in week 1. As well, also in week 1, Zay Flowers, as far as what he was doing against some of these Bills corners, he had the 6th most routes with separation generated on them in week 1 with 10. So he was getting a lot of open space. They had a couple of drops, couple of behind the route passes, which is going to happen in football games. But you want to limit these types of opportunities where Zay Flowers was wide open. It happened more often than I would have liked to see in week 1. And then as far as making those guys' jobs easier, where was the pass rush? Lamar had all day to throw back there. And then when the Bills did generate some pressure, it was tough to wrap him up. They had a couple sacks on him for sure. But I keep going back to that 3rd and 20 play or whatever it was, where 3rd and 10, and Lamar goes 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and then he somehow scrambles for the first down after the Bills made some nice stops on 1st and 2nd down to get off the field. But you couldn't corral him in the backfield. And you're playing another quarterback who's very, very mobile this upcoming week in Justin Fields. So you got to generate a pass rush. No Bills edge rusher this past week had a pass rush grade above 60, which is about league average. So basically every edge rusher this week was mediocre. Greg Rousseau, thank God he stepped up in the run game as well, because his pass rush it left a little bit to be desired. Now, my take is this. The defense, they locked in. The Bills' defense locked in at the end of the week 1 matchup against Baltimore. Ed Oliver with the punch out. The awareness to get on that football, give yourself a short field, and really kickstart that comeback for Buffalo. But you make all these plays in the clutch. Why do we have to make all those plays in the clutch? We shouldn't have to wait that long for the Bills' defense to lock in. For that first half, it was Swiss cheese. The Ravens were literally getting whatever they wanted. And somehow, some way, once the clock shifted to the 4th quarter, it looked like a different defense out there. They were giving Lamar trouble. They were stopping Derrick Henry behind the line of scrimmage. We shouldn't have to wait that long for those things to happen on a Bills football game day. And I think some improvements around this defense, some more coaching up from Bobby Babich, and some of these young players just getting more reps as the season goes along will do that for your Buffalo Bills. What is your confidence level in the defense before week 2? Scale for me down in the comments section. 1 meaning you got no confidence in the world. We are getting cooked by this Jets offense. And then 100 meaning no worries that we were just playing the Ravens and we'll be better. We'll be much better as the season progresses. Next, what does Buffalo have to do to improve this week? Plus some Bills news to get to, a couple of tidbits, some injuries, some special team stuff that we want to talk about and share with you guys on today's show. But first, get hooked up with our proud sponsor on the program, and that is PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Join the fun and the action this football season on PrizePicks, where you can win up to 2,000 times your money watching your Buffalo Bills. And take it from me, who's been a PrizePicks customer longer than even been a sponsor here at Chat Sports. I've won over $10,000 playing PrizePicks, and it's so simple to do. All you guys got to do is pick a lineup of 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their projected stats. Whether it's football, basketball, baseball, you can mix and match all these different sports in one same lineup, and they always want to make it easier for you guys to win real money in real time. Like with them giving you $50 in lineups instantly when you play your first $5 lineup, but you got to use our promo code CLNS that you see in the bottom right of your screen. My lineup for week 2 is as follows. I got this is crazy. I got a Jets punter going more than 4 punts. They didn't punt the entire first half in week 1. That's historic for the Jets. Got Dalton Kincaid more than 32.5 receiving yards. And then Josh Allen more than 1.5 pass touchdowns. And then the free square, Travis Kelce, more than half a receiving yard. You can tell my picks or fade my picks. Take advantage of those free picks as well. Just do it all at PrizePicks. Download the app today and use the promo code CLNS for $50 in lineups instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. Look, I understand you're not going up against the Baltimore Ravens in week 2, but you're going up against a team that showed a lot of talent in week 1. The Jets were a top 10 rushing team in week 1. The Jets were a top 3 scoring team top 4 scoring team in week 1 because they did end up losing to the Pittsburgh Steelers. That could bode well for the Buffalo offense. But as far as what the Jets have going on there, they were cooking, man. And Justin Fields was working out of the pocket. He was working out of structure. I mean, the Jets were running the football down the Steelers' throat. Breece Hall had an absolute day. And you have Braylon Allen there punching things in on the goal line as well. This is going to be a tough unit to stop here, as the number one task that the Jets will be imploring this upcoming week is keeping Josh Allen off of the field. And how do you do that? Run the football, drain the clock, dominate time of possession. The Bills have to do their best at getting off of the field and limiting these Jets drives, and getting Josh Allen as much time as he needs out there on the field to put this game away against a much inferior Jets team. And that's just the reality of the situation. The Bills are much better than the Jets because of Josh Allen. But if Josh Allen isn't on the football field, then that's going to be a bad sign for your Bills getting in the win column this week. And to do this, you must keep Justin Fields in the pocket because it's only going to extend drives if he's able to escape the pocket, get first downs, and keep that clock running. So the number one thing that the Bills must do this week is keep Justin Fields in the pocket, and then that honestly trickles down to the rest of the team. When you don't have to worry about, or I guess not to worry, but when you can contain a guy like Fields not being able to scramble, then that takes an element away from their offense that made them really good this past week. So if you can keep him in the pocket and make him a pocket passer, even though he looked pretty solid from there in week 1, I think that's going to regress a little bit more towards the mean, and the Bills will have a good job and an easy job in their pass defense. Now in week 1, I say all this, but this still might not be your same old Jets. Like the week 1 Jets were unbelievable, and that's against the Pittsburgh defense that, by all accounts, is near the top of the NFL. The Jets had 6.4 yards per play. That's tied for 3rd in the NFL. By the way, the Bills were tied there as well on their offensive yards per play, but they allowed 8.2 yards per play to the Baltimore Ravens. So they got their work cut out for them defensively. Things need to be tightened up. It still should be a win. I want to preface that. It still should be a win. This is a trap game for sure. Bills come riding the highest of highs. Miracle win in week 1. Then you got to go to MetLife, play in some rain, and it's a mucky game script with Justin Fields as your opposing quarterback in week 2. It still should be a win as long as you show up, though. As long as the defense doesn't play worse than they did on Monday, you got a guy under center who can just go make it happen. And in the clutchest of situations, he goes out there and makes it happen. As long as you literally just show up to the football game and then this guy performs like he does, you're going to go out there and win a lot more than you're going to go out there and lose. Josh Allen on 3rd and 4th down in week 1 was, dare I say perfect? Dare I say perfect. 9 of 10 completion. So I guess not perfect there, but I mean, he was as good as you could possibly get. 115 passing yards, 3 total touchdowns. Like, unreal alien-like performance from Josh Allen. Had more passing yards in the 4th quarter with over 250 than 21 other quarterbacks had in week 1. I think it's actually that number is 23 now because J.J. McCarthy and Caleb Williams didn't exceed that number on Monday night. Josh Allen is special, and we should thank our lucky stars that we have them every single day. If you want the Jets, or if you want the Bills to beat the Jets in week 2 and start this season 2-0, show me, manifest it, go down below, hit that thumbs up icon before we get into a little bit more of some Bills news before we wrap up. All right, this is rough. I didn't talk about this in the front half of today's show, but I really hope that the reason that the Bills did not sign Jabril Peppers was because of money, and there were some things that would have harmed them long-term as far as restructures and contract extensions go that made this signing impossible. Because your rival in the AFC, the Pittsburgh Steelers, just went out there and scooped up Jabril Peppers sitting there on the free agency market. For the Bills' safety room to be in the position that it is right now and the Bills not to go after Jabril Peppers is malpractice. If you think that what you saw in week 1 tells you that you don't need to add another safety to this room, then you are sorely mistaken. But if it was a money thing and he wanted more money than the Bills could offer, and the Bills couldn't really free up enough money to offer him at all in the first place, then I guess it's understandable. But his safety room is a major concern, and signing Jabril Peppers would have been a major, major boost to that production. Also, Matt Prater, the kicker, the hero in week 1. It was a 30-yard kick, but it's still a hero. He had to make it, and he nailed it. 3 of 3 on the game from field goal range, and 2 of 2 on his extra points as well. Doing his job, 41 years old, just brought in last week. People were like, what's this guy doing in our special teams meeting? Oh, is that a new coach? No, it's Matt Prater. Khalil Shakir, you're crazy for that one. But is Matt Prater going to be the kicker for the long run here? There's absolutely been some concerns about Tyler Bass throughout his tenure in Buffalo, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case here anytime soon. Joe Biscaglia reporting this from Sean McDermott in his press conference said that Matt Prater is the kicker, quote, for the foreseeable future, but stressed that Tyler Bass, who is on injured reserve right now, missing at least the first 4 games of the season, is, quote, our guy. So Bills fans might be happy about that. They might not be happy about that, but that is the news as of right now. Biscaglia also saying this about Trey White, little mini injury update before we get out of here. He said that he's improving, but we'll know more about that and other minor injuries on Wednesday. That's when we get the injury report, and so we'll be getting you guys our full preview of Bills versus Jets as well. So that will do it for today's edition of the Bills Breakdown. Hit me up on Twitter at Tyler J. Smith, 2 H's because the name's common, but I am not. And make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We'll be updating you guys all the way up to this Week 2 matchup against the New York Jets. So lock us in, hit that sub button. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, let's go, Buffalo.